Good afternoon, everybody over on YouTube and our new home as well, Twitch. We are here for our prediction show. My fault on this one. Oh, Liam's fell
having
over.
A nightmare there.
Liam's nearly fell over. My fault on this one. We're a couple of days late, but we had to get it in. So here we are, 4:10 on a Saturday afternoon. But Boots Stanionis, boys, in about 12 hours, we'll probably know the end result. But looking forward to it. Cannot wait for it. WBA and IBF unification at 147. The good thing about doing the prediction show this late in the week is that we've seen them weigh in. We know what they look like. We've had a little look at what their body language has been like during fight week. And we mentioned it on Tuesday that we're kind of interested, and we think it's a lot closer than a lot of people who I've seen. You know, obviously I haven't seen too many people saying they think Stanionis is going to whoop Boots. But I've seen a lot of people saying I think Boots going to whoop Stanionis. The three of us kind of in agreement with where we were Tuesday. I don't know if either of you may have changed your mind. We'll find out in a bit if you have. But yeah, I think it's going to be close. I think Boots looks absolutely shocking at 147. We mentioned it in the week. He looks so drawn, boys. Obviously,
I've seen it, man. Yeah. I'm surprised he's not moved up already. I think it's a massive risk boiling himself down, and regardless of what he says, right, judging on the eye test, he has killed himself to make that weight. Absolutely ruined himself. Now the issue for me now is, can he replenish himself enough and not go, because replenishing and rehydrating yourself is one thing, but you can go past that point and have too much and become lethargic. So I mean, I'd like to think he is professional enough for that not to be the case. But I flip-flopped all week, and I've got a horrible feeling for that Boots, if he is anywhere near the performance that he had against Karen in the second one, you know, this fight could go anywhere at all.
It's been a strange week. I mean, Stanionis missed his flight to Atlantic City, so he was 12, 13 hours delayed. So their face-off was delayed. So everyone's reading into that, Stanionis looks knackered. I'm like, yeah, he's flipping been at an airport for 26 hours, missed his flight, delayed. Of course he's going to look a bit ropey. Boots looked worse on the scales yesterday than he did against Karen and Avanesian last year. He's always looked drawn and tight at this weight, but it's almost as if he's gone to that next level of it, absolutely killing him to do now. Look, 12 months ago, like we all said on Tuesday, we all felt pretty confident Boots would win this comfortably. As this week's gone on, it becomes a closer and closer fight. And like Jay says, Boots is going to need his best performance in 24, 36 months in a few hours' time to, pick up another belt. And if he has killed himself to make the weight, if he isn't able to replenish himself to the point where he's then able to exert himself over 36 minutes potentially, we could get a shock. And it could be the Lithuanian that's the two-belt holder at 147.
Yeah, definitely. Hand history vaults in the chat. Hope you're well, my friend. Kind of echoing what
I agree.
Just said there. Hopefully, see you later for the watch along. Of course, we'll be there for that. Look, we kind of alluded to it anyway, boys. But obviously, as Liam's just said as well, man, he looks tight at the weight. But look, that doesn't necessarily mean too much. We have seen fighters tight at the weight before that boil themselves down, go on to dominating divisions. So. There's a lot hinging on this for me, the kind of narrative around Matchrooms, US kind of, shall we say, investment going on, that kind of thing. They took Boots twice to Philly. Now they're bringing boxing back to the Boardwalk Hall at Atlantic City, a venue that I'm very fond of. Eddie said it's sold out 9,000, so I'll take his word for it. But yeah, there's a lot on this. I mean, obviously, Matchroom especially need a draw on Ennis win, but I think that Boots and obviously those backing him, which is Eddie Hearn, he needs to look good tonight. I think if he gets through it, kind of Karen rematch style, or he kind of stopped having issues, so can't really complain about that. But yeah, especially last time out, I think it's not only about win. Obviously, winning's everything. He's undefeated. He's 33-0, whatever it is. He'll become unified world champion. Great, but if that doesn't fit the narrative that we've been peddled from, especially from those stateside for all these years about Jaron Ennis is the next this, that, and the other. I can beat Crawford. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, it's I've not seen anything recently to look. Boots is one of those that if he's in complete control, he can look an absolute $1 million. He does all that matrix slow motion stuff and he's pivoting. Very Lomachenko-esque when Lomachenko was coming through. The difference is that we very rarely saw Lomachenko dip. He had tougher fights, but he always remained the same pretty much. Whereas Boots has started to look a little bit shaky as he's gone up the levels, and then he came back down again to rematch someone and made it even more difficult for himself in the second fight. I think he's pissed around too much at 147 and should have moved up, should have just followed Crawford up there instead of hanging around to try clean up the division, because he's hung around too long. He can never make 147 again based off last night safely. I won't say I'm worried for him, but I'm concerned that he's had to concentrate that much on making weight and making sure he was on track to make weight, that he will just assume that he's got a good enough skill set and maybe hasn't worked on particular tactics or particular game plans. I know his team will have done, but if you're not going through that step by step during training camp in small increments so that it becomes second nature, it's all well and good them telling you to change tactics mid-round, but if you've not worked on it, it's more difficult for it to click into gear. And I think tonight's going to be the toughest fight that he's had for a long time.
Yeah, I think so. A couple of comments, Liam, and I'll come back over to you. Big up to Wade. Thanks for being with us. Wade, no hydration clause for Boots. Yeah, God, he's going to be huge in there tonight. No doubt about that.
Sluggish,
Wade,
though, I reckon.
Definitely. Evening, Pat. Hope you're well, my friend.
Yes, Pat.
Fight night is well and truly underway. No UK or European boxing tonight for us to watch, so it's going full on stateside. Late KO for Boots, Pat says. Never seen Ennis so ripped. Yeah, he's definitely tight at the weight, Pat, no doubt. Big up to Ryan as well.
Yes, Ryan.
Boots by decision. Yeah, he will. That's where kind of I'm at with it, Ryan, as well. Anything further to add, Liam, before we get into giving our picks?
No, I think it is interesting, and like we've said, the last time Boots looked good was pre-COVID, or just in those couple of fights he had during lockdown, where he was still knocking people dead, and that Conor Ben narrative was obviously still ongoing. But yeah, he's pissing around now at this weight, trying to pick up the belts because Crawford has moved on. But in reality, he's probably doing himself more harm than good. I mean, I know Janabek was impressive last weekend, but there's an argument that Janabek stayed at 160 for too long for the same reasons, trying to pick up belts, but he's actually ended up in hospital because of how tight he is at the weight. So there is an argument in the long term it's going to have an effect on him. It's just, he must believe that he's got at least one more performance in 147, because there's no reason really for him to be staying down here. There isn't the money anymore.
I think he was backed into a corner, Liam, as well, when he turned down that Virgil Ortiz fight on February the 22nd. Yeah. I think if he'd have gone and took like another ammunition, or, I know Karen was mandatory, so, he kind of had to take that fight. But, if you're fighting that level of opposition and you turn down Ortiz to fight someone again like that, fair play. He turned down Ortiz because he wanted to unify at 147. He's took the fight, so it is what it is, isn't it?
I hear it, yeah. I hear the argument, but at the same time, he said he's more worried about the money and the legacy than the belts. He's openly very honest about that. So it's like, if that's the case, why are you staying down at 147? He must believe that he doesn't look as bad as he does on the eye test with everyone else, and that he's still got it in him. We're going to find out, like we say, this time in 12 hours, we'll be on our way to knowing the outcome.
Yeah, I think, for argument's sake, say if Boots does get through tonight, I'm going to find it interesting to see where he goes next. I mean, I guess before we go into the predictions, I'll ask both of you, do you think if he wins tonight, or if he loses, win, lose, or draw, do you think Boots Ennis' his next fight will be at 147?
No.
I think if he loses, they'll do a rematch at 147. That's my honest opinion.
No, sorry, I'll elaborate on that. Just he might try to make 147. I think he'll miss weight if he tries to make 147 again. He looked absolutely horrendous. So no, I don't think he'll fight at 147 again. He might try to, but I don't think it's going to be possible for him.
And Liam, the other champions don't have huge name value, Norman Jr. or Barrios. So it's not like he'll be getting mega paydays for those unifications.
Yeah, and that's the point I was just making. I think for me, if he loses, we hear the excuse that he's tight at the weight, that he should have moved up after he first picks up this IBF belt, and he'll move straight up to 154. If he wins, I think he'll try and yes, okay, the money isn't there, but I think he'll try and pick off Barrios and at least get 3 of the 4 belts. I don't think he'll go near Norman Jr. again after the debacle that was the back end of last year. I think he'll try and pick off Barrios before he moves up, which could be a mistake in itself because Barrios is a rugged, tough, come forward Mexican, and that style on a weight drained fighter is all kinds of wrong, isn't it?
Yeah. There would both be interesting fights, but yeah, look. Boots is a heavy favourite tonight. Like he's overwhelming favourite with the bookies. We'll get into our predictions. I'll start, boys. I think Boots will win. Is what I'll say first, which is shock horror. I know obviously most people think he'll win, but I think he's going to get a real gut check tonight. Honestly, I think he scrapes through. Honestly, I don't think he looks good doing it either. I think Stanionis is going to stick it right on him. He looked in tremendous shape, Stanionis. I don't know if you watched the weigh-in, but you talk about Boots looking drained, and he looked full. He looked ripped. Like he's bang on it, Stanionis, and I'm telling you, he's going to make it tough for Boots. Boots via a split, very close decision for me.
Yeah, I'll go the other way. I'm going to text Stanionis now. I think he's going to nick it on a majority decision. I think we're going to have a drawn scorecard, and then I think he's going to eke out. I think it might not be the correct result, but I think that he'll make it difficult enough and awkward enough. We might see slips, flash knockdowns, but after the weigh-in, I've done 360, and I think that Stanionis is going to eke out a close decision. So the opposite to yourself, similar, but for different reasons. I'm gonna go Stanionis, but I wouldn't be surprised if Boots comes out there and blasts him out of there inside 3 or 4 rounds. But judging on what I've seen and what we saw in previous performances, I'm going to pick Stanionis for the win, the outsider. Shock horror.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Boots on points. I think it may be a case of as the fight wears on, he's able to pull away a bit more. I think it will be tight and cagey. I'm going to go in 8-4 for Boots, but look, he has to make a statement. We're sitting here saying he's going to scrape a point to win, me and you, Sam, and Jay thinks he's going to lose it on a split. If he's the name he thinks he is, this fight should be done in 4 or 5 rounds. That's the reality. If he's as good as he thinks, we want to be blown away come 4 a.m. because he's made a stoppage. The fact that we're even talking about him edging points victories kind of shows where the narrative has gone with Boots.
Yeah, ultimately, we're going off what we've seen recently. That's what we're seeing. We're going off what we've seen. We're not making up. We have reasons behind it. Yeah,
and I know I always pick random ones and go against the grain. I'm not just saying that for dramatic effect. You guys know me better than that. I've just got a funny feeling that Ennis is tight at the weight. His eyes on 154. He's struggled to make the weight, and I just think Stanionis is going to turn up. He's going to make it difficult. It's going to be close, but I'm edging him for a win.
Wouldn't surprise me, man.
Yeah, look, well, I think the message is loud and clear from us. We don't agree with the narrative that Boots is a bigger favourite as he is, although 2 of us favour him to win. Jay, obviously. Just
saying what Pat's saying there. Pat, if you can find me a boxer that has ever said they've struggled to make the weight pre-fight, then you're a better man than me, because they always say afterwards that, they struggle to make. He's never gonna say that he's had a problem. He would never admit that. I don't think his ego would allow him.
Yeah, the eye test, Pat. The eye test. He looks very gaunt and drawn in to me. But look, we'll see. The beauty of it is the speculation will be no more in about 12 hours' time, as Liam said. We'll know whether he's dead at the weight. We'll know whether he's okay to stay at 147. Here we go. Han History Vault said Boots wins, likely fighting the winner of Haney Garcia. That wouldn't surprise me, actually, because Turkey can make that happen quite easily, I think. So
yeah.
Here we go. Pat, Jay, what do you think about Boots Ennis pink gloves for the fight?
I've not seen them. I couldn't give a shit, to be honest.
Pat, tune in at 4 a.m. Pat, you'll get.
You might get a different perspective at 4 a.m. I've not seen them, brother, yet, but no doubt I'll be slagging them off at some stage in the wee small hours.
Yes, we'll leave it there then, boys, for that one. As Liam says, 12 hours time, we'll be here live watching it, so make sure you join us for that. Thanks very much to those that tuned in, Pat, History Vault, Ryan, and anyone else who's joined us on YouTube and Twitch. Any UFC fans, we're going to give a quick main card preview very, very shortly. Massive card in Miami later on tonight. So join us in the next couple of minutes. Thanks to Jay and Liam, as always, for giving their picks. 2-1 to Boots for us, but all three of us think it's going to be very, very close.